the trade war that changed the world. When President Trump raised the banner of protectionism and launched a global tariff war, a thunderous response echoed from the East, from China. Beijing didn't just respond, it began laying the groundwork for an entirely new trade system, and so began the most intense trade war of the modern era. It started with a bold move. Donald Trump, returning to the presidency, announced sweeping tariffs, targeting nearly every major trading partner, but especially China. Products made in China were hit with a massive 34% tariff, then 84%. Trump's message was clear: made in China has no place in America. But China didn't flinch. Beijing struck back with equal force, imposing its own tariffs on American goods. In retaliation, Trump raised tariffs yet again, this time a staggering 145%. China responded with 125%. The impact was immediate. Global markets trembled, prices surged, supply chains fractured. But beneath the chaos, something bigger was moving. China began to push for a new economic order, forging alliances, crafting new trade routes, and rallying support for multilateral systems anchored in the WTO. High-level visits to Vietnam, Malaysia, and Cambodia followed, all countries affected by U.S. tariffs. Vietnam expressed interest in joining BRICS. And surprisingly, China and the European Union grew closer, issuing joint statements and launching new economic initiatives. If these alliances faltered, China still had one powerful card to play: rare earth elements. As Trump tightened restrictions, China limited exports of these critical minerals, vital for advanced defense technologies, not just to the US but to the world. The result: a chokehold on industries with no alternatives, because China still dominates the global supply of rare earths. And that was just the first move. In aviation, China suspended the purchase of Boeing aircraft. 3 major Chinese airlines were expected to receive 179 planes by 2027, a deal worth billions. But now, delayed, Boeing shares tumbled. China turned inward, accelerating production of its own aircraft, COMAC, a direct challenge to both Boeing and Airbus. Meanwhile, whispers emerged about the end of secrecy clauses. Luxury brands that once forced Chinese manufacturers into silence could soon see their secrets exposed, revealing the real origin of products sold at a premium across the globe. Amid the mounting tension, Trump made a surprising move. He delayed the next round of tariffs, citing great respect for Xi Jinping and a desire for a good deal. But was it compromise or calculation? Because the US wasn't just confronting China directly, it was isolating China indirectly, pressuring its trading partners. Over 70 countries were asked to renegotiate deals. The message was blunt: strengthen ties with China and risk losing access to America. Germany, France, Indonesia, Brazil, Turkey, all stood at a dangerous crossroads, caught between China's long-term opportunities and America's short-term threats. For developing nations, the game became delicate. One step too close to China could spark a silent embargo. But rejecting China meant losing fast, unconditional investment. Still, a new kind of unity was forming. If America continued to isolate, it risked facing a more dangerous consequence: a global economic realignment. Imagine a world where the US dollar no longer holds its throne. With the rise of alternative payment systems, regional development banks, and local currency trade, the dollar's dominance could start to erode. Take China and ASEAN. Energy-rich, resource-heavy, Europe now builds logistics networks independent of the US. BRICS is growing, not just in size but in vision. They want a system that's not ruled, but shared. The Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, RCEP, now the largest trade bloc in the world, without the United States. Meanwhile, China's Belt and Road Initiative stretches from Asia to Africa and Europe, bypassing Western institutions entirely. Nations like India and the UAE, Brazil and Argentina, Russia and China are all cutting ties with the dollar in bilateral trade. The message is clear: dependence is vulnerability, and now, threats against pro-China nations only deepen solidarity. New alliances are forming, not out of loyalty, but out of necessity. They don't want domination, they want dignity. For decades, the US was the center of global order. But today, the world is shifting. Economic sanctions, tariff threats, currency manipulation, all becoming weapons that damage trust and backfire. In contrast, China is no longer just a challenger. It's a magnet, a new epicenter of investment, trade, and infrastructure. But here's the warning. This trade war, if escalated further, risks transforming into a full-blown military conflict. The Taiwan issue remains a flashpoint, a red line for both sides. Economic escalation, military maneuvers, rising geopolitical friction. Neither side wants war, but both are preparing for it, because when two giants collide, the whole world feels the tremor.